everyone. This is Ashlata Jagdish. I welcome you all to class 3rd Social Science. This is your chapter 2, that is My Country India. This is the second part of the video. In the first part you learnt about the Mughal Empire and the Maratha Empire, isn't it children? There you learnt about Akbar the great king. Akbar was a great king of India. Then in Maratha Empire you learnt about Shivaji. I hope it's clear. In this session you will be learning about the British rule and about freedom fighters. They are Mahatma Gandhi, Tilak and Jawaharlal Nehru. Many freedom fighters fought for our country, isn't it? But here we will be discussing about only these three, that is Mahatma Gandhi, Tilak and Jawaharlal Nehru in detail. Okay, so let's begin. First is British rule. So in 1757 Britishers started to take control. The British started ruling India from the year 1757. How they started? The British controlled Indian trade and production. So children, you know earlier kings and queens used to rule our country, isn't it? That time what happened? They used to fight with each other to capture the kingdom. Then Britishers, they came to India for the purpose of trade. Trade means what? Business. They used to take spices, cotton from our country. Then they saw the wealth of India. That how much spices we grow, how we grow cotton. So it was very good in our, that production was good in our country. Then they entered in 1757 and they started to control our trade and production. Means they took hold on the business and how we used to produce now. They took hold on the production also. And they collected taxes from Indians. They took away the part of India's wealth to England without giving anything. In return, they didn't give anything. See, when you purchase something by any other person, you pay for that, isn't it? But they have taken the wealth of India, but in return, they didn't give anything to Indian people. And they collected taxes from Indian people. This is how they controlled the trade and production. Then what happened in 1857? Indian soldiers were asked to use the guns smeared with pork and cow's fat. Pork means pig. Okay. So in war we use rifles, guns, isn't it? Their Indian soldiers were asked to use the guns which was having the coating of pig and cow's fat. See, in India we follow some culture, religion, isn't it? So which was against our religion. We worship cow. So Indian soldiers refused to do so because it was against our religion. We don't touch the fat of cow. What they did, when the gun or rifle has to be opened, it has to be opened with mouth, and that opening was coated with the pig or cow's fat, which we don't touch, isn't it? It was against our religion. So Indian soldiers, they refused, and in 1857 only the first war of independence by Indian soldiers began. Then many of the freedom fighters like many of the freedom fighters, they joined for this war, and the war against the British started. After this, many Indian freedom fighters worked and fought tirelessly for the freedom of India. They were Subhash Chandra Bose, Mahatma Gandhi, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Bhagat Singh and many more. So these all freedom fighters, they tirelessly worked. Means continuously they were struggling to get the freedom. Okay children. Then we got freedom in 1947. India was free from the British rule. Okay, this was all about the British rule. Now let's see about Mahatma Gandhi. Freedom fighters. First is Mahatma Gandhi. Now let's see in detail about Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi is also known as the father of our nation, isn't it? You all know him. We call him as a father of our nation. He was born on 2nd October 1869. So only we celebrate Gandhi Jayanti on 2nd of October every year, isn't it? He went to London and South Africa to study. He completed his primary education in India only, but to get the higher education he went to London and South Africa. He became a barrister and returned to India permanently. Barrister means lawyer. When he became lawyer, after that he came back to India permanently. Then he fought in the for the freedom of our country. He fought against the British. He led the famous Dandi March protesting against the British rule. What is this Dandi March, children? What is this Dandi March, you know? It is the protesting against the British for we don't want to pay the tax of salt. Salt was under the control of, salt production was under the control of Britishers, for which they asked us to pay the tax or fees also we say. That protesting against the salt law was called as Dandi March. Okay, this was led by Mahatma Gandhi. And he encouraged Indians to use the goods made in India. Indian people should use the goods which are made in India. Mahatma Gandhi encouraged us to use the goods which are made in India. He fought for the freedom of the country. Gandhiji died in 1948 when he was shot by Nathura Godse. It happened a year after the India got its independence from the British. Okay children, this was all about the Mahatma Gandhi. I hope it's clear. Now let's see about Bal Gangadhar Tilak. Bal Gangadhar Tilak was born on 23rd July 1856. He was a teacher, lawyer, journalist and a freedom fighter. His job was, he worked as a lawyer also and he worked as a teacher also and even journalist. Journalist means one who writes in paper, and he was also a freedom fighter. His famous quote was, "Swaraj is my birthright and I shall have it." This is well remembered in India even today. Swaraj means what? Self-rule. Swaraj means self-rule, where we can, he said to the British that we can control our country by ourselves. We don't want British rule anymore. For this he was arrested and put into the prison for writing against the British in newspaper. This was all about Bal Gangadhar Tilak, children. Now let's see about Jawaharlal Nehru in detail, children. Okay. So when do we celebrate Children's Day? We celebrate Children's Day on 14th of November every year, isn't it? Whose birthday is it? It's birthday of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, isn't it? He was also a freedom fighter. Let's see about him in detail now. He was the first Prime Minister of India. In 1947 when we got independence, that time he was the first person to become the Prime Minister of our country. Okay. When was he born? He was born on 14th November 1880. 1889. Okay. He worked as a barrister in Allahabad. Barrister means lawyer. I said earlier only, no? Barrister means lawyer. He worked as a barrister in Allahabad and he became a member of the Congress. He was interested in politics. Okay. So, he will become a member of the Congress. Then, Mahatma Gandhi, during one of the meeting in Lucknow, he will meet Mahatma Gandhi in Lucknow. They worked together for the freedom of India. So, what they will do, when they meet, they will discuss about the freedom of our country. It means how to free our India from the British rule. So, they used to work together and discuss together. Jawaharlal Nehru led the non-cooperation movement against the British rule. Non-cooperation means what? We will not follow the rules of the British. So, means we will not cooperate with the British. So, they started the non-cooperation movement against the British. He was arrested and put into the prison for many times for going against the British. See, he started this non-cooperation movement. He led this non-cooperation movement. So, Britishers were angry on him and they will put him in prison for many of the times. Then, this is all about Jawaharlal Nehru. Okay, children, this completes your second chapter. That is My Country, India. Now, let's recap once. Okay, when did British started ruling us? They started ruling from 1757. Okay, the first war of independence began in 1857 when we got freedom in 1947, isn't it? Then who is called as father of our nation? It's Mahatma Gandhi. When was he born? He was born on 1869 he was born on 2nd October 1869. He was also a barrister. He studied in London and South Africa. Then he fought for freedom. Okay, he led the famous Dandi March. Then about Bal Gangadhar Tilak, he was born on July 1856. He was also a lawyer, teacher, journalist and a freedom fighter, and he gave the quote that is, Swaraj is my birthright and I shall have it. So, this is the famous quote. Till today also we remember it. Okay. Then next, Jawaharlal Nehru was the first Prime Minister of India and he was born on 14th of November 1889 and he led the non-cooperation movement. This completes your second chapter. We will meet in the next session. Till then, take care. Thank you.